Welcome to another collection video. This time I'm going to do a video for the Super Nintendo or Super NES or SNES, however you say it. This is actually the first console I ever got. It is not the first console I ever played as a child growing up. That would have been that was the Atari 2600. But the Super Nintendo was the first console that was purchased for me as a child. It's a pretty cool system. I grew up with it. I loved it. It had a lot of childhood favorites on it, and I'm glad that I grew up in the Super Nintendo era. And another benefit of actually growing up in that era was the fact that I was able to get these games new, as well as hold on to my original copies from my childhood. So I'm not a rookie to this. I'm not new to the game. I'm old school, and a lot of these games are my childhood copies. That being said, stay tuned. Here we go. I'm going to start off with loose carts first, and then move on into CIB copies. I have quite a few duplicates here, but I just use them for trading or whatnot. Locally, I trade locally. I don't trade online. So, not trying to shut you off, but just gonna do local trades. Anyway, Super Mario World, it's one copy, another copy, another copy. As you can tell, it's a pretty common game. There are a few versions of it. Some came with the console, and some came sold individually in a box. You can tell the difference sometimes by the sticker variation and top label. I'm not going to get into that really right now, but those are some of the first games I got. Or that Super Mario World was the first game I got as a child with my Super Nintendo. Next up, it's not necessarily a game for the Super Nintendo, but it is an essential piece, if you ask me. That's Super Game Boy. You know what that does, right? I would hope so. All right, next up, Super Mario All-Stars and Super Mario World, a combination that came bundled with the system. Shooter, Darius Twin, Street Fighter 2, the original, rather bland if you ask me. Getting into some pretty cool stuff if you ask me. A Link to the Past, definitely a staple. If you watch my GameCube video, I mentioned before that this game wasn't included on the Zelda Collector's Edition, and I wasn't too happy about it, but it's cool to have the original version here and in physical format or form, so I can play it on my Super Nintendo, which I have two Super Nintendos, one from childhood and one I got later. Okay, next up in my collection, Donkey Kong Country. Pretty cool platformer. I didn't grow up with it, but yeah, I heard good stuff about it. Played it a little bit. All right, the sequel, Donkey Kong Country 2, and the third one in the series, the trilogy, is Donkey Kong Country 3. All right, so we get a little Rareware action in here before Microsoft messed them up. Killer Instinct, definitely a great fighter if you ask me. Thoroughly enjoyed the game. Much better than Gold if you asked me. Super Castlevania 4. This game, I personally believe, is overrated. Might get some dislikes or negatives or whatever, I don't care. Zombies Ate My Neighbors, I don't get what's so special about this game, but everybody loves it, so whatever. Let's see. Another game that, this game is renowned for being really bad, you know. Shaq Fu, some people say it's the worst game ever made. I wouldn't go that far. If you think Shaq Fu is the worst game ever made, you haven't played too many games. But it is a bad game, and the only reason I have is because it's so bad. I might do a playthrough of it, but I mean, it's painful to play, but I played worse, especially on the not Super Nintendo, the N64, or specifically Superman 64. All right, to get that bad taste out of your mouth, let's follow up with Super Mario RPG, Legend of the Seven Stars. Little RPG action. I don't have too many Super Nintendo RPGs because as a kid I wasn't into RPGs, so I don't have many from the Super Nintendo era. I'm not just hopping on hype on Super Nintendo RPGs because I didn't grow up with them. But it was a good joint effort by Enix and Nintendo working on this title. Following up with another RPG, Secret of Evermore. So those pretty much concludes my Super Nintendo RPGs. You may be wondering, where's Earthbound? I'm not a fan of that game, really. I'm not gonna say it's overrated, but that just really doesn't appeal to me, especially now at the prices at, and me liking physical copies. I'm not interested. Anyway, a great game if you ask me. Super Metroid. I like it a whole lot more than, what is it, other game? Oh yeah. I like this game here much more than I like this one. Some people say Mega Man X is one of the greatest games on the Super Nintendo. Okay, if you want to say that, that's perfectly fine. You're entitled to your opinion. But personally, I believe this game is overrated. I think Super Metroid is a better game. A whole lot less linear. I just think people worship Mega Man X for some reason. I just don't get it. And I've talked about it some on my Instagram before. People may not like it, but I just like Super Metroid better. That's just my personal opinion. So there you go. Super Metroid, Mega Man X. There you go. So got a little sneak peek at my boxed Super Nintendo titles. Still on some loose ones though. Mega Man X2. I like it a whole lot better than Mega Man X, I'll tell you that much. My other boxed Mega Man X, there's a difference here. This is the Majesco late reprint. Majesco produced the game as well after the original print. Sometimes you can tell by the cover art, it's like darker, less gloss, not as quality, and it also says made in Mexico on the back. If you look right here, you have Mega Man X bright cover art and made in Japan. So yeah, I have both versions. Anyway, alright, let's move on. I've already showed you Super Metroid. Alright, another one, Hyper Zone, pretty cool shooter. Michael Jordan, Chaos in the Windy City. Last Action Hero. So I'm kind of on some of the CIB stuff now, or specifically the CIB stuff. Tetris 2, one of my childhood favorites. This is actually one of my favorite Super Nintendo games, and it's not expensive at all, but I love it. It's a great puzzle game. I don't have too many puzzle games, so big fan of that one. Let's see what else we have here. A rather obscure title, not necessarily rare or expensive, but Kendo Rage. Alright, let's get on to some childhood favorites. Killer Instinct, this is my CIB copy. I kind of just leave the CIB ones in the box to prevent further wear and tear on the boxes. I have this one 100% complete. This has the Killer Cut CD in the box too. If you don't have everything included in the box, it's not complete. So yeah, box, manual, inserts, the CDs, especially for this one. So yeah, I have this one 100% complete. Super Mario All-Stars. This is a childhood copy. Survived my childhood. Kind of beat up a little bit, but it survived. Let's see. One of my favorite Super Nintendo games. A game that I believe doesn't get enough credit. A lot of people just idolize, or like I said earlier, people sometimes just kind of getting us blinded by nostalgia, especially with some of those N64 games. But a game I really like was Star Fox, the original. I don't think it gets enough credit. Yeah, the graphics weren't that great. It was revolutionary for its time, though. Utilized the Super FX chip. Great sound quality. Great music. Challenging, at least on the more difficult levels, and which would make sense. But I like this so much better than that cakewalk Star Fox 64. Star Fox 64 is child's play. Anyway, moving on. Balls 3D. Yeah, that's a pretty bad game. This game is actually relatively painful to play as well. I'd say this game is actually worse than Shaq Fu. Good music though, surprisingly. Alright, let's see. I think I did Michael Jordan Chaos in Windy City and Hyperzone. I think I already took care of those. So I'm gonna move those over there. And I don't have that many more games left. These are some of the more expensive ones, at least CIB. Super Mario World. This is my original copy from childhood. It is complete. Yeah. This game isn't rare by any means. It is the best-selling Super Nintendo game, mainly due to the fact that this game was included in 90% of Super Nintendos sold. You know, back in the day where games actually came with the console when you bought them. Yeah. Anyway, I got a version of the Super Nintendo that did not include a pack-in game. So my dad, back in the early 90s, he bought me Super Mario World to go along with my Super Nintendo. Some type of way, the box survived my childhood as well, and I have a CIB copy. The box itself is relatively hard to find and rare. If you look it up online, a CIB copy is pretty expensive for Super Mario World. But loose carts, they're a dime a dozen. So, have to have that one in the collection. It will always be in the collection. A series that's near and dear to my heart is the Mega Man series. As I said before, I'm not a fan of Mega Man X. I know I might get a lot of hate for it, but, you know, have fun with it. I don't like it. I like X2, X3, X4, X5. Kind of like X6. X7 was terrible. And X8 was okay, pretty good. I actually like Command Mission a whole lot more than some of the other Mega Man X games. But moving on with the X series from X, which I don't like, Mega Man X2. It's 100% complete. I have my CIB copy here. The copy is in the box, and I have my loose copy here. So I have 2 copies of Mega Man X2. Just like I have 2 copies of Super Metroid. But yeah, I like this game a whole lot better than the original. I know I'm in a minority here, but it's nothing wrong with being different or unique. You don't have to like what everybody else likes. Moving on, in the X series, you're gonna have X3. This game gets a lot of hate. I think it's undeserved hate. I think mainly the reason people hate the game so much or dislike it is because it's kind of expensive and they kind of want it. They just have a hard time getting it, especially in physical form. It's been re-released multiple times, especially on the PlayStation 2 and GameCube compilations. And it's available for download on the eShop now. It is readily available in, you know, legal form. I'm not talking about emulation and ROMs and all that. But, yeah, late release Super Nintendo title. A lot of people, like I said, I don't believe had a chance to actually play it in physical format. So they just kind of put X on the pedestal for being the best when they really didn't give anything else a try. So that kind of negates the whole argument, if you ask me. But this game is more challenging than X, than X2, I guess, as well. But I like it. It's a good game. Happy to have it complete, 100% complete. Okay, a lesser known game from the Mega Man series in the Super Nintendo era was Mega Man Soccer. It's a pretty bad game, but it's something I had to get to complete my Super Nintendo Mega Man collection. Alright, and the dark horse, or one of the dark horses of the Mega Man series, Mega Man 7. It's complete, pretty good condition. This was a late release as well for the Super Nintendo. It's not cheap, CIB. Simply put, a lot of the expensive Mega Man titles I don't think got enough play. They weren't produced in high numbers, and like I said, people just worshiping Mega Man X, so they didn't give anything else a shot. Anyway, and finally, to conclude my Super Nintendo collection, relatively hard game to find, CIB. It's a shmup. It's much less common than the other R-Type for the Super Nintendo. And that's R-Type 3. So that pretty much concludes my Super Nintendo collection. As you can see, it really doesn't have many games in it. Because it's not that much from the Super Nintendo I really wanted. And especially seeing how prices are now. You know, I just save myself some money and just get the games I really want and will play. I kind of collect more for GameCube as well as PlayStation 2 and Wii. N64 somewhat as well. But yeah, that is my Super Nintendo collection. I'd like to thank you for watching. Feel free to comment, rate, subscribe. Like I said, these are the games I kind of really want. I'm not really interested in getting really any other Super Nintendo games. Because it's not a console I'm really that into collecting for anyway. But it's just something from my childhood that I do kind of cherish. So I'm just going to hang on to them. Anyway, thank you for watching. Stay tuned. Peace.